is iRacing.
The first braking zone on today's circuit bears the name of the very man that won the World Championship in this car. I'm sure the drivers will want to do Mario proud as we get ready to watch round one of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and joining me in the booth is Jake Sperry. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Jake, for the Classic Lotus Series, they've picked a classic track to kick it off.
They absolutely have, and you can't really argue against it. It's a circuit that's gone through many various guises over the years, but one where the circuit bears a resembled face. It is the one that scares many when it comes to racing action. While it's not a track that opens up with massive straights and big braking zones, what it does offer is the scariest corner in all of motorsport. Right there on your screen, Joe, the dreaded corkscrew.
Yes, and while it's garnered quite a bit of worldwide fame because of that corkscrew, in case any fans are new to Laguna Seca, let's head to our track guide to learn more about it. Welcome to Laguna Seca. Located just east of Monterey, California, it's hard to deny that this is one of the more scenic American road courses. It travels up and down a hillside which not only offers spectacular views, but one of racing's most iconic corners. Clocking in at 2¼ miles in length, 11 turns split up the current configuration. I say current because up until 1988, the track's layout was shockingly simple with a mere 9 dangerously fast corners. But despite becoming a much more technical track, this difficult nature was retained in its modern form. Turn 6 in particular places an emphasis on precision and daring with its tricky dip at the apex and narrow racing line. But the most well-known spot on the track is of course the corkscrew. Blind and kinked on entry, it then whips the driver through a chicane which drops you nearly 60 feet. It's earned a reputation worldwide for forcing even the most daring competitors to second-guess themselves. But there's honestly a refreshingly wide variety in types of corners, making it a perfect track for driver coaching and training. Elevation changes, differing cambers, and every sort of apex imaginable leaves seasoned veterans and newcomers alike spending hours trying to perfect a lap. With the track becoming popular for hosting IMSA, IndyCar, and MotoGP in its recent history, it also brings out lots of vintage racers due to the Monterey historics each year. Likely to remain a fixture on the American racing scene, this legendary circuit is almost always high on drivers' best of lists. Its history and its uniqueness are sure to delight all for years to come. Really looking forward to this one, Jake. This is one of my favorite tracks on the sim, honestly.
It's a wonderful circuit, and the 11 turns that open through this track here in Monterey, California tells you all you need to know about it. It's one where you have to be patient through the first half of the lap. When you get to about turn 5, that gives you the opportunity to start making moves. You can't attack at 6, but the corkscrew, that high rise up to the highest point of the circuit, turn 7, that's what everyone clamors for. And then you got that run down through the chin and then along the neck at turn 10 before you reach turn number 11, the final great overtaking place on this circuit. It's safe to say when Laguna Seca comes up on racing calendars out there, it's not a circuit that you can out-muscle and get yourself the victory at. It's one you have to craft and be strategic with.
Without a doubt, and the drivers will have to test themselves and their technical prowess around here. As we take a look at the race details as well, we are looking at a 30-lap race for the opener for this season. They have open setups on the car, which means that they can try and tweak them to their liking in terms of comfortability, but you might want to try and find some speed, which will probably require some downforce here. They don't have a spare car to help them if they do find damage. Granted, the speeds are so high at this track, you're probably not going to be able to get away with much damage before your race is over. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and a DQ at 25. Keep it on the track, keep it between the white lines, or else you're going to pay for it, having to make a trip through pit lane for today's race. Topi Kortanimi on the provisional pole as it stands right now in the early stages of this qualifying, with Togo Hisada, as is now becoming tradition over here in the 79s, is now giving chase.
Yep, so Togo's found good times. Jacob Reed, the two-time iRacing Grand Prix World Tour champion, is in third position, but there are big names that have yet to put times in, and they include Aldrius Valenterius, Andy T, and Jerno Friction. Now, if you've got those three drivers staring down the barrel of your qualifying time, I would be quaking.
I mean, this is a really murderer's row of talent. It's impressive. How the sort of drivers that have showed up, which honestly makes the strength of field seem almost kind of feel low, I would say, compared to what you would expect with some of these incredible names that are out here. Josephine Becker backing up her performance in the Lotus 49s yesterday with a fourth place on her second lap. She is really just getting better and better each and every time we see her. And then Timothy Reed just slots in behind her with fifth.
Yeah, some great times in coming through. Aaron Blair running the mock-up Williams livery there, trying to get it sorted. And Aldrius having to fight twice there through turn 5, trying to work up the hill. This is the first lap of 2, so as you can see, that gap about half a second between second and third. If it's anywhere within that half a second, I'd say this is a good job diving at the corkscrew. It's 6 stories down the hill here today. Air temp at 19 degrees, track temp at 21. I think they're going to need that second lap, and they'll make big improvements once they get the confidence to go. Pablo Rodriguez moves up then into 12th place, with Nick Fisson then inside the top 10. That's a driver who can top 5 on any given day, but the gold standard comes to the line for the first attempt. It's a 1:10.9, but there's another attempt around the corner.
So it does look like needing to get the tires up to temperature is going to play a factor here in the qualifying. So Andreas is going to nail this second lap. Here is Jack David Spickett, who is yet to set a time. This first lap for him is, and he just crossed the line. That must be his first lap started now. So I think, it looks like he should have just enough time, as Andy T just jumped up into third.
With another lap yet, though, in the back pocket. Diamonds off the Andretti hairpin, turn 2, out on track. So it's starting to get chipper. It's starting to get a bit close out there, and every braking zone is going to be stared at. You're still going nearly 100 kilometers an hour under braking in towards the corkscrew, 200 through the rainy curve. Set it up for the brakes. It's on camber slightly as you head through turn 10, and Aldrius needing this lap time with 2 minutes to go. Tiptoe your way through the final corner. Don't light up the rears too much. With all of these cars and the naturally aspirated engine, you cannot afford it. 10-2 from Aldrius. He'll go to third.
And that's saying something right there. Valentinius usually is amongst the best of the best when it comes to qualifying and one-lap pace, and yet he only sits third here today. Andy T going to try and see if he can bump him down to fourth as he takes it way out to the outside of the final turn. Was that within the boundaries? It was. It's a 10.959, and that's good enough for pole.
Wow, what a time. Andy's rolling back the ears and saying, this is my series. Come try and beat me. Carlos Peralta now trying to get something done, but the only other driver to keep focus on is Jack David Spickett, British driver out there, former champion here in the 79s. But here is the kicker right now with him. He's one of those drivers who's so quick that he's decided to get an honorary finish tag next to his name here in iRacing.
I was just noticing that myself. Maybe he feels like it gives him just a A tenth or two of speed having that next to his name as he comes down through the corkscrew. It is so steep through there that even in a golf cart, you feel like you are about to tip over. Jack David Spickett down through the last two corners, only 21st right now. He needs a great second lap. Oh, but he locks it up into the final corner as that put the death knell to his hopes of being in the top 20. It's a 1:11.2. That's an improvement, but only up to 14th. Oh.
And that's a couple tenths of a second at least there that he's burnt. And in that could have been enough to dispose Journo Freakshaw and get into the top 10. It's a busy qualifying that we've had, but the timer has just expired.
So that is, in fact, going to set our grid. And up at the top of it, Andy T is back once again. He has found himself with a little bit of damage at Fuji, so we'll see if he can bounce back from that and try and get himself a nice finish here over on the West Coast. He'll start on pole next to Topi Kortaniemi with Toga Hisada in third and Audrius Valenteus in fourth. Mikko Leno will be in P5 with Josephine Becker an excellent top six. Timothy Reed will start seventh. Jacob Reed will start eighth. No relation there. Gernot Friesche ninth, and Dylan Freckleton rounds out your top 10.
Good qualifying by Shadi Ahmad then, going from 11th. Nick Thyssen, who has been around forever and a day in sim racing circles, is 12th. It's then Julius Muller and Jack David Spickett. They house row 7 with Spaniards on row 8. Carlos Peralta 15th and Pablo Rodriguez then in 16th. Gabri Martinez then is 17th with Jake Ringwood there in 18th. It's great to see JPW out there and running for the first time with Art Cart in 19th and M. Moreira then, the Brazilian, making up the top 20.
Jean-Francois Boscus is starting in 21st, Beatrice Lank 22nd. Then it's Jave Valido in 23rd, Aaron Blair in 24th, and Daniel Banker P25. Matt Cockrum will start 26th today. Peter Jurka in the 27th spot. Ben David will be P28, followed by Borja Cineros in 29th. Jason Clapper, Lucas Clement, and Kurt Clapper round out the field of drivers here today. 32 cars, pretty big field of top drivers here in the top split. And to top it all off, Topi Kortaniemi, Audrius Valenteus rather, could do the triple for the weekend. Only one other driver, Jamie Fluke, has ever done that and won all 3 vintage races on the SOF race in one weekend. This would be historic if he can take it home. The engines now start to rev as the lights are up. They're holding them a while. Green flag is finally out. Andy T is off pretty decently. Topi Kortaniemi already trying to position himself, coming down into the first corner as he looks down to the inside, but he's covered round the outside. Valenteus trying to see if he can hold on to third place. Toga Hisada is going to fight him for it. These two have gone against each other in the 49s pretty frequently, but it looks like Audrius will take that P3.
The worst start there was Josephine Becker. She dropped back to 8th place there off of the get-go, and they're still trying to sort each other out as they head to turn 4. Now they have to behave and find single file at some point. Give each other the line that sets itself up. Mikko Leno in 6th place, doing a good job. That's a mock-up Lotus livery of Kimi Räikkönen there for Mikko out there at the moment, trying to roll back the years. I'm not sure he's going to get the likes of 100,000 euros per point as he works up the hill towards the corkscrew, but as they hit the brakes for the first time, car's going to go backwards, straight across the road. It's the green machine then of the lights that go through. It's carnage up at the top.
Oh, I worried about this, that first lap going into the corkscrew is always a little bit dangerous. And unfortunately, one driver winding up off track has just collected a massive amount of the midfield.
It was Pablo Rodriguez who had the first hit. It was stabbed from the back from Gabri Martinez as the car diving down into the pits then at the end of the opening lap. So it shows you how tough it is the start of this race, and especially when you've got 3 full splits here today, effectively 96 there. That shows you how tough it is. Jason Clapper's made good progress. More troubles. Art Cart's in trouble.
He's going to be able to get it rolling once again, just as another car tries to sweep around the outside. Looking back at Valenteus, still running in third. Amazingly, in all that carnage, I think only one car had a meatball flag, although a few definitely had to come in a pit lane to get repairs regardless. That is Topi Cortinimi sitting in second. You see the maroon car of Valenteus chasing down the hill once again, and it's made a right mess of that exit coming off the corkscrew. Did you see how much gravel was out there?
It's pretty much a case right now that you wish you were down by the seaside. There is so much sand there on the outside and the inside of the corkscrew. When you're worried about that corner, the last thing you want to be dealing with is a lack of grip down the hill, because you get effectively negative G as you come down the hill, and then when you plateau out, the back gets really loose and light when you get that influx that comes back again. And so you're always worrying, am I going to have enough rear traction when I come off the corner? You then suddenly put across the circuit the equivalent of, I would say, ice. It's disaster.
I think we got a replay on that opening incident. Koglar, the one that wound up barreling into everybody there on the way into the corner, got a lot of help, unfortunately. I'd say he was a pretty innocent victim on this one.
Look, the brakes are locked up, desperately trying to avoid contact, and then there's two, and there'll be a third one coming over. Oh, my goodness.
I didn't quite make out who that was that got into the back of him. We'll try and see if we can figure out who wound up.
I think it was Borja Cisneros.
And he did wind up in pit lane, so I guess he didn't completely get away scot-free with that little bump and wound up paying for it as well. Oh, we're hearing maybe Gabriel Martinez, is that correct?
Yeah, it was Gabriel Martinez who got into the back initially, and that's what caused the drama to go through. Andy T with a purple check mark for the fastest lap of the race, and that will put him to 1.3 seconds clear of Topi Cortinimi, who is the reigning champion. So Andy's going to decide that he wants to go out there and get this championship sorted. When you got high downforce, best place to be, out in front.
That's working out very well for T, who has already stretched away to nearly a second and a half. A driver that hasn't had it completely clear in front of him is Jack David Spickett. He's up 4 spots. He's already admitted that qualifying was not representative for him. He's into the top 10. How high can he climb today as we watch the number 1 of Valenteus continue to have to sit behind Cortinimi? Now checking in on Peter there in 19th. So looks like he might have a chance to try and fight with Morera.
Yep, so Peter Yerka here is now looking here at 22, that's wide, and here's the chance to get past Morera. Here's the climb up the hill, a drag race to the corkscrew. It does turn to the right slightly as you hit the brake, so you've got to try and straight line that section. If you're anything side by side, you're just praying that you've got enough room on the outside. It works then for Peter Yerka against the likes of Morera, and now it brings in Kurt Clapper and the recovering Nick Thyssen and Benjamin David. Then the German, as there's the look to the inside, Thyssen has to stand up on the brakes, and that very much the case of someone trying to put the brakes on you. You just can't do anything except wait for the clearance to be had.
This is a track where it's so tough to pass that, yeah, you've got to try and hope for maybe a mistake from that driver in front of you if you really want a realistic shot. It's still just plugged up here. That's Ben David behind him in the Nissan liveried car. But Kurt Clapper, finds himself nearly run into the back of by Nick Thyssen, who eventually finds his way by and down into turn 5. Could it be 2 spots for Clapper? It does. Ben David gets through.
Well, this is the issue you run into with a driver of Nick Thyssen's caliber and quality. Oh, Shadi Ahmad round at the corkscrew, and that's going to drop him down about 4 or 5 places. I don't think he's caught anything, which will be a good save for him. He's just dropped it on his own as Cortinimi sets the fastest lap. But for drivers like Nick Thyssen, Joe, who find themselves mired back in the pack after the opening lap melee that goes through, when you're with drivers that you don't quite know how they drive, you don't know how quick they are, it's so easy to get yourself into trouble, because if you're in the front, you know everyone's a similar pace to you. When they're not, that's when miscommunication starts.
Shane Becker now still down 2 from where she began, but obviously having picked it up a little bit since the start of the race. That's Timothy Reed just in front of her. and Dylan Freckleton sitting behind. Both drivers that are regulars here in this series, and boy, everybody taking it right out to the edge, clipping the dirt on the outside of turn 6. That can be dangerous on its own, and Becker slides around.
Easily done. The rear's letting go at the corkscrew, trying to carry as much speed through the corner as possible, maybe trailing the brake a bit, trying to get the power back on, and the rear's just let go and say, I don't want any of that. Round we go. So a disaster there for the My Neighbor Totoro machine that Josephine is running today, so ultimately needs a cat bus to catch up.
It certainly helped. Meanwhile, Jack David Spickett on Dylan Freckleton tries down the inside. Oh, and tries a second time in the same corner. Thankfully, was heads up as Freckleton was not expecting that and shut the door. And Freckleton will hold on to P8. Gernot Friesche sitting there behind them. There's another name that you usually don't want to see show up in your mirrors. And Jack David Spickett is going to have to play rear guard while attacking. Gabri Martinez in the meantime. Back here in 16th is, it looks like, stuck behind Ahmad, who we know is just recovering from his own incident. So a couple cars that have been involved in some action today.
Joe, I'm struggling to find a time when I last saw Gernot Friesche in 10th place on pure pace alone.
That's a good point. And I was kind of thinking about that myself. It's honestly rare that you'd find him behind Jack David Spickett as well. And Jack's no slouch, mind you, but yeah, it seems like maybe this is not one that's working out as well for Gernot, along with the fact that we do have so many fast cars, including usually one of the more dominant ones when he was active, Andy T, who is picking right up where he left off.
Yeah, it's as if he's not been gone a day, Andy T. He is lightning fast at the best of times. He's 1.8 seconds clear. And if you want any understanding of how a car works, he knows this car inside and out. He could probably see one in the real world and change it to find anything that he wants out of it, and he could get that car moving and motoring and purring better than anybody else. 2 seconds clear of Topi Courtaniemi. That is a statement, and Aldrius behind there in 3rd place wants to try and work a way through, but he's run into the eternal issue that you find around a circuit like this. You have to plan your moves out in advance. You can't just throw one down the inside and expect a long straight to get it back. You have to plot your way around the circuit. If you're going to go out wide, you're not thinking about the turn 9, for example. You're thinking about the run out of 11 that gives you the launch into turn 2.
Topi still sitting behind by more than 2 seconds, while Valenteus hovers in the mirrors here. We're still early in the race. There's a lot to go. They haven't caught lap traffic yet, but I have to imagine with the lap times being just over 1:10 some, that most drivers will catch up with at least 1 or 2 lap cars throughout this race. Jacob Reed also in a bit of a fight. That's Miko in there behind him in the number 8, making sure that he can't rest on his laurels as we look through the rear wing of the UK driver.
And I look at that Ford DFV Cosworth engine, and what an incredible engine, what an incredible partnership iRacing has now with Cosworth, with the Cosworth Pi system that is now available to drivers in iRacing. It's a free and a paid version. I tell you what, that paid version is incredible in terms of what you can learn in real time to get yourself those extra tenths of a second that you can unlock through data. And really what we're seeing, even though these cars are from what is the 70s out there, a huge difference that you find, Joe, here in 2025, heading into 2026, world's your oyster. You can find a million different parameter points that make you quicker.
Right now, he needs some points that'll open up the door and maybe give him a chance to try and sneak underneath that car ahead. But Timothy Reed, unfortunately, needs to get a little bit closer down to Miko to try and make that happen. As we watch him just chase out of the Andretti hairpin I mentioned there in the opening, now into the infield section, the newer-ish portion of this track, but it was introduced more than 30 years ago at this stage. And ironically, it was made to try and attract Formula One, which you can see here works in the sim, but never really did in real life. Valenteus, look at the pressure he's starting to put on Topi. Can he manage to make the thin crack, which, if he can, that'll be a rare feat.
Well, they had to get by Art Kart, and there was a slight check-up at turn 5 as Topical Tanemi found himself a little bit stuck in no man's land, trying to get it done. Aldrius is really throwing the car about, and here comes the look, final corner. Oh, he gets himself chopped across the nose. He didn't get alongside quick enough, and now he'll drop about 6 or 7 tenths of a second. T now out to 2 seconds of a gap, and it brings in the Emperor of the Lotus, Togo Hisada, into play and sneaking about looking for a podium. Togo has just waited on what is a Monday morning right now in Japan, looking for a way to get through.
Watching from the nose of Hisada now, looking up ahead at the podium positions. He's raced against Andretti. He knows his tricks, he knows his habits. What can he do to use that to his advantage, especially while the number 1 is distracted by Topi up ahead? It's not looking likely at this stage that we'll see the triple come out of Andreas Valenteus. He's discovering just how tough it is as car stays off to the side. That is the lapped car of Matt Cochran.
Yeah, Cochran's got damage on the front wing, and that he's been limping with. He's missing the entire right plate out there on the KISS machine, so it looks like he's had a little bit more with a KISS than a barrier out there, it has to be said. But now as these three are together, I can only understand and theorize at this point that there will come a moment where they go, right, Andy T's gone. He's out of this race. We're not going to be able to catch him. At what point does it become, I'm just quick for the sake of being quick? And what point comes along, Joe, where it's, I'm quick because I want second?
Good question, but honestly, Valenteus is the only one that can answer that one right now. And just as he hovers behind Topi, no doubt he is aware of Togo behind him as well. He's no fool. And I think he's going to try and be wise about how he attacks this, if he can get close enough. Looks like he's fallen off after he was nice and tight behind Topi, at least for a little while. These cars do have a relatively big wake behind them, something that people wouldn't expect with the ground effects on them, but it can be tough to follow closely.
Especially when you've got high downforce in comparison to low downforce, you expect that you're able to follow through, but you're looking at the larger wings that they have on the back. Because they've got to have a bigger wing to keep the car planted on the floor, it means that you are putting more dirty turbulence into the air because you're having to create a bigger angle on that rear wing. The more turbulence they have, the more dirty air you have to run through, the more air you have to run through, the tougher it is to follow the car in front. That's why low downforce often wins out from high downforce. But what we traditionally see is high downforce is really great for qualifying. It's lower downforce that actually pays off more often than not in the race.
Tends to allow you to make the passes. Around this place, though, I mean, you got to figure out where you can even do that. And it seems drivers are having a difficult time trying to make that happen. As we follow JDS behind Dylan Freckleton. Jack maybe trimmed it out just a little bit more so that he can make some of those overtakes. He's up 5 currently from where he qualified, not letting that Q session keep him down. We're going to check in behind them, though. Nick Thyssen, talk about a driver that we're not used to seeing in their various positions. I think Nick down in 18th is a bit of an anomaly.
Yeah, I think Nick's just been caught wrong place, wrong times, had to try and recover back, has gone through on Petr Yerka. Nice to see that from the Czech driver out there, Lucas Clement as well, out there representing Czechia today and is in 23rd position. So they're out there and doing a good job. But I think the difficulty is, yeah, you do get caught up on the opening laps, and he's not slow. He's doing a 12.8. The car's in front. I look at Jean-Francois Boscus, 13.5, 14.5 for Daniel Banker. Jacob Reed having a lot of troubles out there at the moment, clearing lap traffic, cannot get any way around Art Kart, but give credit to Art, he is holding that same pace. So he's saying, look, I can run the same pace as these drivers. You've got to be quicker than me to unlap me.
Yeah, we have to remember that in iRacing, the blue flags are informational only. He is not required to pull off the side. That said, drivers are like elephants. They will remember. And if Art is going to continue to kind of play a plug here for the likes of Jacob Reed, then Jacob's not going to be too kind the next time that the favor has to come back around as he dives down to the inside. And thankfully, Art sees that one coming, and he gets out of the way.
Yeah, and now look at what it does for that group behind. It completely opens it up. Nowhere for Freckleton, Spickett or Freacher to go in that. Leno had himself a lane to attack, but then ultimately hits the turbulence now through the rainy curve. Now into 11, isn't going to get a chance at the final corner as we are now heading towards that halfway lap. But it's what we're talking about. Where is the moment that goes through? Art's probably not going to be very happy about that when they get down into the paddock at the end of the race. But I like to add on to your quote, Joe. Drivers are elephants when they've been wrong. Drivers are goldfishes when they're the ones who've done something wrong.
This is very true. That's a good way to put it. And Timothy Reed here at the back of this trio. I wonder if he'll get a shot to maybe try and attack the two of them. He's got to get maybe a little bit closer if he hopes to pick up the pieces should those two start squabbling. But Miko now kind of sandwiched in between them as they have been freed up from the lap car in front of them. What can he do to try and sneak by? Gernot Freisha just a couple positions back. He's got Jack David Spickett and Dylan Freckleton in front of them. And in fact, I think this trio is catching the other trio.
Yes, so they are now going to coalesce into a group of 6 here. They've been trying to do the work. They've been trying to do what they can to run through in this race and go, this is exactly what I'm capable of doing. The pace I've got is there. Aldrius, by the way, fastest lap of the race. But if you've got a group of 6, you're going to have to try and find a way to get through the entire pack. And around here, it's not easy. Mikko Leno, though, angles to that inside, but Jacob Reed takes that big wide line through turn 1, gets later on the brakes, squares the corner off more. That covers the position out well. And it's very difficult out there to get by a driver like Jacob Reed. Day job is a data scientist. He knows the numbers inside and out.
And obviously very good at executing on them, too. It's one thing to be a number cruncher, but then you have to be an athlete. Even in sim racing, that eye-hand coordination can come in handy here. So, as Miko continues to try and trail behind, he just can't get close enough to use that speed that he seems to have. Although good on the braking here, coming down to the corkscrew, gets almost within a car length as Valenteus is finally going for it, sends one up the inside of the final turn, but it becomes a drag race down into the Andretti hairpin, and Valenteus will have the inside into the corner. Will that make the difference? Because it's hard to try and go the long way around of this double apex hairpin. He gets the first one, he gets the second one, and Andreas has got it done.
Well, Toppy's only got himself to blame. He ran out of road at turn number 10, and that just opened up the door. Aldrius was not waiting for another golden ticket to pass him by. He was going for that move, and that move alone is enough to get to second, but you got 4 seconds to chase down in 13 laps of the race remaining when they cross the line. So it's a tall order to now go by Lucas Clement here as they make that pass by the Czech driver as they move on through. But now it's a, whoa, outbreak, why don't you? Into the gravel goes Clement, and that would have scared Togo Hesada into the corkscrew.
But he hasn't lost much ground on Topi through all of that. He's still right there. It's Courtney, I think, that is mostly lost out to Valenteus, who's trying to stretch his legs now that he has been freed up on board with Togo. You can see how he has to definitely wrestle with the steering in this car, but he's used to doing that. He's starting to pull a little bit, but it's just not a long enough straightaway.
No, it's not, and so you have to be a little bit more clever in terms of how you make that move. You've got to be even closer, you've got to be even braver, you've got to fight against grip, and Togo Hesada is the sort of driver that, in terms of the profile of the way he sets up a car, Joe, I think he's a driver who is someone who loves a car, the Americans call it loose, out there in the way that he goes about his business. So what do I mean? He loves a car with oversteer. He loves a car that he can feel through the corners, that he can pliably work to get that grip. He likes to be on the edge of grip, and then he can wrestle it back and get the car to be muscled through whatever corner he needs to. Oh, bye-bye, Toppy!
A rare mistake from the Finn, and completely on his own. That was I completely unexpected, frankly. The car just veered off very suddenly under braking, and we'll have to try and analyze that. Oh, so apparently just a little bit too far to the edge of the circuit. And this means that Topi now has a lap car behind him, so that's not Jacob Reed that is catching up. I don't know. From that angle, it didn't look like he really touched it. I think it was the curb, if anything.
Well, it can unsettle here because we got the brand new iRacing curbs out there, but that curb is traditionally flat. But that, to me, could be a number of things, and one of them, what it could be as well, Joe, is the fact that he is trying to search and search and search for grip on tyres that are starting to give up a bit, because you have to put more downforce into the car, you have to have a little bit more with it to make it work. And so I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, yeah, that could just be that the rear axle locks up and you're trying to get it to wrestle into the corner. That small kick to the right, if you move too much, the back's just going to try and step out. And again, you know, you expect the Finns to be fantastic at holding that one. The reigning champion making a mistake on the first round. Last season, fourth was a drop for Topi.
Yeah, this is not going to be the end of the world, although I think he's going to be kicking himself after making that mistake. Isada still running there in third as we check in with the battle between Freckleton, Reed, Spickett, and Freesia. This is for seventh right now, being led by Dylan, who finds himself in this position, I feel like, somewhat regularly. He's a decently fast driver, but he's also, I feel like, rather consistent. When other drivers wind up behind him, it can be a little bit tough to overtake.
Reminds me of Jarno Trulli, how Jarno would always be really good at qualifying, would always find a way of making drivers behind on the first stint of races just absolutely hate trying to get by. And I think that's that same mentality from Dylan Freckleton. If you hit your marks 10 times out of 10, it's going to take something exceptional to go and get the move. And I'm looking here at the way that Jack David Spickett is, I would say, piloting around the circuit. He's really showing a different side of him right now. He's really aggressive, he's looking for every move, but you're also seeing the small mistakes he's making on the laps and why he's dropping back that time as well. So I think Jack's got the biggest pace out of anybody in this group, but he's just got nowhere to use it. It's like having a really, really large dog cooped up in a really small kennel.
Actually, that dog's going to get a little bit too angry to be withheld. Hopefully it doesn't burst into somebody getting hurt in this situation. We've been watching Gernot Fries's perspective as he gets awful close to the back end of JDS. But look at the distance, nearly touching to now suddenly many car lengths away.
That's the difference maker. If you can't stand on the throttle and acceleration, the biggest key statistic out there here at Laguna Seca, the WeatherTech Raceway, you are going to drop 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths of a second just in the blink of an eye, basically. So when you look at Gernot Friescher, there's not much he can do. It's not his mistake that he's making, but the moment he gets too close, he has to lift out the throttle. He can't get back to power application quicker, and he then knows that the gap just opens up and there's nothing I can really do about it. Timothy Reed has driven very well here in this 8th position. The American, I believe, before they split just to nationalities, I believe he was Club Atlantic out there, and he works his way now down the corkscrew and realizing here that with the gaps in front, Mika Leno's 3 seconds down the road, Jacob Reed's 4 seconds down the road. You're not seeing them now until the end of the race. So it's a case of I've either got to get through now or the best I can hope for is a P7.
Yeah, they've got quite a ways up to Topi, up ahead of them, I think. So it's going to be a tough ask to try and run down those ahead of them as they continue to chase. Oh, we haven't checked in on Josephine in a while. She's back in 12th, but definitely not to the heights that she saw in qualifying, as Julius Mueller is the next one in front. She's going to try and attack, and that's to just try and get close to the top 10. I think there's about 2.5 seconds up to Friescher. She could maybe catch up to that next group, but she's going to have to make a quick pass, I think, to have the time to do so.
Yeah, so this is going to be one of the toughest things for Josephine, knowing that she's had the pace. She has been lightning fast last season. It's almost as if it suddenly clicked for her that the pace is there, and I've now got the ability to go out there and really challenge, being the only driver to take F2 championships in 49s and 79s. Tells you all you need to know about how fast she is, but you know, there's a difference here with the way that Andy T is driving. There is fast, there is generationally fast, and there is all-time fast. And Andy T, I have to say it, is all-time fast.
He certainly is. As this has been happening, I've been keeping an eye on Josephine. She's managed to get inside, and there you go, nearly past Julius, who's going to try and break deep down to the first corner and make a little bit of contact. They'll get away with it. Oh, but Julius goes around. That was a bit of an aggressive defense, I think, on his part, but it didn't quite pay off. At least he only lost the one position instead of more than that.
A2 Josephine is what's coming to my mind at the moment, because Julius tried to get better on the brakes, cover off the move. I will say, yes, there was net code, but they were going to make contact anyway, and I don't think Josephine did anything wrong. I think Muller was trying to cover off that move, never had the clearance, and ultimately couldn't keep the car in a straight line. 4.2 seconds. Now, this is where it's really interesting for me. Aldrius, fastest lap of the race, 4 seconds now the gap, 4.2 across the line. Well, if you got that pace, I think the race was won and lost by Aldrius not getting everything out of qualifying and getting stuck behind Topi Courtiniemi. He could have given Andy T a race today.
I think so too. I would have loved to have seen the world where that happened. But as we take a look at Togo Hisada, something that intrigued me is you mentioned his tending to like oversteery cars. And we made actually the exact same point yesterday during the 49s, that he likes those loose cars. You know what his comment was in response to that? I prefer them understeering, and I think I set them up that way. Cars.
I don't see his steering cars, right?
That's that exact car.
Things when you've got great racing out there, you've got a great driver, and you know, having the philosophy of no, my car understeers, and you look at it and you go, that's understeer, and you just see the eyes bug out wide, and you know, that's what we call savant-like level understanding of a car. If that's understeer, I do not want to see your oversteer.
And that's just a lapped car that he is going by, but him handling that oversteering car has managed to put him up to another podium here today. This is a driver that has definitely put his dues in the vintage cars, has raced the 49s a lot. He has now, in the past year or so, been hopping over and racing quite a bit here in the 79s. And from time to time, we do see him in IMSA Vintage. Granted, that's at a very awkward time of night for him, so he doesn't show up there nearly as often. But regardless, Togo Hisada back down the hill once again. 6 laps to go, and a handy gap back to Topi at this stage. I think he's got a third place wrapped up if he just brings it home.
Yeah, and that's what you need early doors in the season. Good, consistent points, picking up the bonus points when needed. Of course, for pole position and for fastest lap, which is there. Ooh, that's a little bit wiggly there behind him. That would have been a little scare of concern for Benjamin David, who has dropped the lap now in 20th position at the moment. Valenteius then happy at this stage to try and hunt and try and chase, and Valenteius is one of those drivers who has been in sim racing for well over a decade and a half. Here comes Mikko Leino. He's been waiting, and still you will have to, because Jacob Reed commands the inside line and he just holds himself steady. The only thing that maybe can help is that Jacob Reed, and the way he drives, Joe, he traditionally chews up tires.
So yeah, that could help out Mikko here. By the way, we had our first black flag of the session. Nick Bisson had too many incident points. He's coming in to serve that now. A little bit frustrating for him, no doubt. And this is coming up and over the hill. Oh, you know what? That was probably a 4X after just a tiny little bonk, and that's why we're seeing him in pit lane, as Mikko did, in fact, manage to find his way past Jacob Reed. Well done. The corkscrew is shockingly hard to make passes at.
Not only the corkscrew, Joe, around the outside of the corkscrew.
Wow. So he really wanted that one and was not taking no for an answer. Meanwhile, back to Timothy Reed. Oh, he's got his hands full. Jack David Spickett is weaving to either side. He's going to find just enough of an opening down into the corner and backs out of it late. Aggressive from the pair of them, neither wanting to give an inch.
And Jack yields because he wants to protect his race finish and get points. If he wasn't caring about the points, he would have sailed that down the inside and risked it, because Timothy Reed would have had to have moved over at that point to save his own car out there. So I look at Timothy Reed there, cheeky, but it did a service out there. Now Jacob Reed follows up the hill. This now the search for a move back at the corkscrew. Again, he's not going to be quite close enough, but he's trying to set up the drive through the middle of the corner, get the run down the hill, use gravity to advantage. Now through the rainy curve at turn 9 and working to 10 and 11. Again, the gap just extends out. Little bit of grass grab by Mikko Leno, but not enough to cause concern. That keeps it in. In comes Nick Disson for his penalty, and I note the gap now down to 3.3 at the front of this field with 3 laps to go. I think Andy T might be trying to save the engine.
That's actually the second time through for Nick. I think he got a speeding penalty on the first one, so injury for the poor number 7. Freesia still plugged up in 10th behind this group. Of course, granted, he doesn't have a car behind him like he had for a while there. Can he manage to do something in the final 3 laps of this race? Will maybe those in front of him finally start fighting a bit? Give him a few opportunities if they slow each other up. He's getting awful close to JDS now, or it could be lap traffic. You can see it, the car trying to stay out of the way, and nicely done actually there by Aaron Blair to get out of the way before turn 6.
Turn 6 is one of those bottleneck points where it goes wrong. And speaking of going wrong, Valenteius has just dropped 2.5 seconds over the course of that, because he's come together with some lap traffic. So he was getting up the hill against Jean-Francois Boscus, and Boscus got ran over.
It's been, unfortunately, a bit of an eventful race for a lot of drivers today, as Hisada has re-caught up to Valenteius.
That would have been the contact.
Aha. So, Andreas Valenteius, unfortunately not going to get a shot at trying to chase down Andy T today. Instead, he's going to have to play a rear guard at the end.
And sometimes you have to, because the aim of the race is it doesn't matter whether you're behind by 1 second or you're behind by 100 seconds. If you're in second place, you're in second place. You're scoring second place points. So Aldris has got to remember that and realise that he's got to compartmentalise this heading towards the final lap. That, yeah, I can't race for the win, but my goodness, I'm still in second place and I can't afford any slip-ups, or Togo will pogo.
He likes to jump up the order, that's for sure. While Valente is still just watching those mirrors, trying to hit his marks with 1 lap to go now. Just has to hold on a little bit. Andy T, who is clear by about 6 seconds, could cruise home for this one. And he doesn't look like he's cruising. He's still using up every inch of the track.
He's using what he can. He knows how to work around this circuit in through turn 5. Just take a look at his steering rotation. Look, there's hardly any counter steer as he comes through turn 5 with that Momo steering wheel through turn 6. And again, the car does what Andy T wants it to do. He wills it through the corner as if he is truly connected, body, mind and soul. Through the corkscrew he goes, Joe. He is the personification of brilliant running. Timothy Reed in trouble.
Oh, after he was having such a good race, Freesia and Spickett managed to get by. So we'll check on that in a little bit, try to unravel what happened. But in the meantime, Andy T is back again, and he opens the season with a win here at Laguna Seca.
6 seconds, the margin over Aldrius Valenteius. That's what we call cashing it in with a brilliant run. And Aldrius, a fastest lap to boot, just to say, I'm frustrated. It was contact at turn 3, Joe, for Timothy Reed. And Reed's finishing this race with 1 missing side pod.
Interestingly enough, I believe Jack David Spickett got hit in the back by Gernot Freesia on the penultimate lap as well. So there is multiple contacts happening in that group there right at the end, with Timothy Reed at least being able to bring it home in 11th. JDS will get a 9th. And Josephine Becker did crack back into the top 10 there at the end because of those incidents all unfolding in front of her.
Yeah, and that's how it happens. You find drivers who get involved in incidents. Doesn't matter if it's the start or the end. You can always find a way. You always see the Repsol colours of Shadi Ahmad as well, heading over the line. He's the last finisher on the leading lap. Just 15 in all, Joe, finding the leading lap from a field of 32.
I said lapped cars would definitely play a part in this one. And yeah, that really illustrates just how short of a lap it is. And this is in top split, mind you, where everybody should be somewhat close on pace. But above it all, it was Andy T this time. He was your winner and showing that he has not lost his edge. That race at Fuji was definitely an outlier because of the damage. Valenteus was second today, but we kind of wonder, could he have cut down the number 4 if he didn't have to be stuck behind Topi? Togo was third today behind them, and Cortiniemi wound up in 4th off of the podium. Mikko Leno was P5 with Jacob Reed in 6th, and then Dylan Freckleton 7th. Gernot Friesche finished 8th today, Jack David Spickett in 9th, and Josephine Becker rounds out your top 10.
Over the pace to 11th, and with one side pod, it is Timothy Reed who finishes there with Julius Müller in 12th. Carlos Peralta ends up in 13th with Yave Valido 14th. Had a great run in today's racing number 23. Shadi Ahmad would be the last car on the lead lap, despite a spin today with Petr Yerka in 16th. And then Gabri Martinez causing the big lap 1 incident. It's so easily done here at Laguna Seca P17 there with Benjamin David in 18th. Jean-Francois Boscus, who got ran over in the final few laps, in 19th after he came together with Valenteus. And then Aaron Blair would make up your top 20.
21st went to Nick Thyssen, expressed his feelings on the race, calling it a joke, unfortunately. And then, of course, in 22nd, it was Kurt Clapper. Morera finished in 23rd, followed by Art Karts, 24th. Then it's Daniel Banker, P25, Matt Cockrum in 26. Lucas Clement was 27th, followed by Ringwood in P28. Jason Clapper only up to 29th today. I think he got caught up in that opening incident a bit. Borja Cineros in the 30th, followed by Pavlar Hoglar in 31st, and Beatrice Yank in the last spot of the field today. Just waiting to see if we get a driver or two in. Haven't talked to Andy T in a long time, so I'm curious if he'll join us for a bit of a conversation. And, I really wish that we had Audrius jump in here from time to time, because I would love to hear his thoughts and if he thinks he could run down the number 4. Speaking of which, looks like we do have the driver of the 4 ready to chat with us. It is Andy T joining us in the booth. First off, Andy, welcome back. I assume that Fuji was a bit of a blip because of the damage. It looks like now that you had a clean car, you ran away with this one.
Yeah, it was nice, man. It's good to be back. Thanks for the welcome.
Well, it seems you've also stopped Audrius from taking a triple crown, as he had won both the Lotus 49s and the IMSA race earlier on this weekend. That's got to be a little bit of a feather in your cap, too, considering how quick Audrius is.
I had no idea he was going for a triple crown. I mean, I race for me. If he couldn't beat me, that's his problem.
Definitely a battle that he has to fight on his own. Considering now we've seen you back a couple times, are you going to be a regular this season?
It's schedule dependent, but I'll try to be there as much as I can. I've got vacations and stuff coming up, so we'll see how it mixes in. And obviously it's Christmas, so that messes with things.
Yeah, and that's totally understandable. Got to get that break in, and sim racing sometimes has to be set aside for that. But still, congratulations. That was an impressive win.
Thanks very much. I got one thing to say, and it's everyone who joined that SOF who's been absent all week, get yourselves racing, because it's giga when people turn up. Otherwise, it's kind of just a bit moot when we're sat there on a Wednesday night and it's not going official. So come on, get in your rig.
I agree. And man, it was great to see so many fast drivers, as that was Andy T taking the win amongst them. It sounds like maybe we will have a chance for Jake to catch up with Toga Hisada, who finished third. Let's see if we have Jake at the ready.
Oh, sorry, I've decided to mute myself. I'm so good at this. Right, Togo, Subarashi Pesudaga, Andy to Aldrius Niwa Katanai.
勝てない Yes, yeah, little bit untouchable, especially the Andy. Yeah, he's a rocket. He's a rocket. Yeah, need to search. Yeah, how he did that of the setups and the how he did at the race. But yeah, at this moment I cannot I cannot beat him. Yep.
It's very difficult when they've got such great pace that they have. But talk us through the start of this race and just trying to keep yourself steady, because you're looking around, you see Topi Courtiniemi, you see the likes there of Aldris Valenteus, and the door opens up for you against Topi. The moment you start putting pressure on him, the moment he's overtaken, you're there, you have then the chance to go out there and try and get that pass, and he's just gifted at you.
Well, actually, there's two cars. Audrey and the Topi is back in the front, and of course there's a two car causing terrible dirty for me. So yeah, it's actually really hard to keep it together. To keep it with those two guys, and Topi spun about that. But I don't know. It's normally very unusual spin, I think, from my perspective. So yeah, maybe something. I thought that something broke or something like a hardware issue or something like that for Topi. But after that he lands his drives as usual. So I really don't know. I'm not sure about it.
It's very tough when you're involved or you get to see something like that, and I'm sure Topi will know how difficult it is. For you, consistent points to start the season here in third. I'd say it's a good platform to build on. But how do you feel about racing action next week at Donington? Very similar in profile, another circuit where it is very tough to pass.
Yeah, qualifying is a key, of course. Yeah. Anyway, I will do my best. Yeah, in next week too.
Well, the best is all you can do. Togo Hisada then finishes off in P number 3 here today. And walking down the virtual paddock, I believe Joe has managed to run in to Mr. Topi Courtiniemi.
Indeed. Maybe we can clear up the mystery, Topi. We were trying to figure out what caused the spin. We were theorizing potentially the curbs. Do you have an answer?
It was a money shift without the loss of money. Actually, I tried to shift in the third and through third into second, but apparently I shifted from fifth to first, so that's what's going to happen.
Okay, that definitely clears it up. We felt like it was a highly unusual mistake to see come out of you. Still, I thought that Jake made an interesting point, said that I believe your drop week from last season was a 4th place. So 4th, not too bad for you right now.
Yeah, I finished.
and to finish first you must be finished. So it works
True.
out for you in all senses of the word. Kicking things off here at Laguna Seca. Next time out, also going to be another track where we see drivers tend to have a hard time passing. You taking some lessons over to Donington when we head for round 2? Did you copy the question?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep, I've got you. I was saying that it's usually difficult to pass here, but Donington is also considered one of those tracks where track position is kind of key. Do you see any lessons that you could take over?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was having trouble with my mic, but yeah, Donington, I think it's a medium downforce track, so I probably have a setup already. This was a high downforce track. I didn't quite find the setup to my liking, so Donington, it's a good track, unpopular, but still good.
Well, at least, like I said, it was a 4th place today, so while it wasn't a podium, you still collected valuable points. Hopefully, we'll get to chat with you next week, too.
Yeah. Sure.
Topi Courtiniemi, P4 today here at the season opener. I believe that's going to wrap us up. So we're going to close this one out with a big thank you to the community for bringing us back for another season of coverage here on the Lotus 79s. And also a big thank you to the team today, Jake, Daniel, and Dougie. Make sure to subscribe to GSRC so you don't miss a moment. Of course, as mentioned, Donington Park is going to be our next race, Sunday, December 28th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. So don't miss that one. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.
This is iRacing.